Welcome to the Weather Guru podcast for October 2nd, 2024. We're going to do a tropical update. We're going to be talking about the storms that are currently out there in the Atlantic and Caribbean basin. We're currently looking at the water vapor because you can see things are kind of drying out. We have a bunch of dry air in the southeast and concentrated along the sun belt here of the United States, as well as a upper level dry air above in the northeast and in the plain states. So that's good news to help inhibit development at least through the next 3 to 4 days in the Gulf of Mexico with that gyre that's been hanging around the Yucatan Peninsula. But that's going to change here. You can see the current wind shear has been a little bit strong here with a north to northwesterly component in the area where that low pressure is supposedly going to develop right now. The National Hurricane Center is giving it about a 40% chance in the short term, but it is going to be developing later on as that wind shear relaxes there. It's in the area of favorable wind shear right now, even though at least in the mid and upper levels, but that's going to change later on this week, progress through the week, toward the weekend, Friday, Saturday. So looking at the Atlantic Basin right now, we do have Kirk out there. We have Hurricane Kirk and we have Tropical Depression 13. So the Cape Verde hurricane season is very active at this time. The Eastern Caribbean is quiet. The North Central Atlantic through Bermuda is quiet. And like I said, we have that disturbance, and although officially not denoted on here, there is an area of disturbance here with the Central American gyre that's producing an area of rain and disturbances out there. But Kirk right now is a Category 2 hurricane. The wind's about 90 miles an hour. Category 1, a strong Category 1 hurricane. It's expected to become a major hurricane, obviously, in the next couple of days here. But this is a fish storm. It's going to be curling around here out toward, for just mariner interest, a couple hundred miles east of Bermuda. But it is going to be a major hurricane by Saturday, Category 3 or above here. And then it's just going to fizzle around back toward the Azores Islands, a couple of west of the Azores there, providing some rough swells and surf there, maybe a few brief showers on the outer fringes of it as it makes its way out to sea. But Hurricane Kirk will be another major hurricane. I think it'll be close to our third or fourth major hurricane for the season here. So things are picking up here, but it's not going to affect any U.S. or Caribbean interests or any interest of that nature. Don't have to worry about Hurricane Kirk, as it's going to be influenced by the Bermuda High that's well to the east there, and that's the steering current that clearly is affecting it. Now, Tropical Depression 13, on the other hand, it is going to become our next tropical storm here in the next couple of days. And hurricane is forecast to become a hurricane, but this also is going to be moving a little bit more northwest here, so it could possibly later on down in the forecast period, it could possibly make a run at the eastern side of Bermuda, possibly, but it could very well take the same path that Kirk would be taking out to sea. And there's some upwelling and things of that nature, but it still would be strengthening towards a major hurricane as well. Now, Kirk is forecast to become a hurricane by Sunday or Monday of next week. Winds are expected to be somewhere around 100 and 90 to 100 miles an hour in 120 hours here. So we'll see what happens with Tropical Depression 13. This will be our next name system here, with the L name is going to be used, and then after that, this system here should be the M name, which I believe is Maria, whatever forms out here in the Gulf of Mexico here, as you can see on this graphical display here. Now, water temperatures are not a problem out here. It's very warm, but it's just that the organizational structure of this system is a problem, and that's what we're having a hard time pinpointing. Right now, it's only given a 40 to 60% chance of development out here. And then the question of whether or not it's going to hit the same area of Florida, the Big Bend, or is it going to come further westward toward Pensacola, Mobile, or New Orleans possibly, as it progresses northward. So this is something that we're going to watch. We got plenty of time. This is more like a weekend development. So those interested in the Gulf Coast, like on Sunday, Monday of next week, please follow the Hurricane Center's advice here, because this is what we're looking at for that detail there. And that will get an M-name storm. I believe it will be an M-name storm. I don't think it's going to be a major hurricane, but it is going to be some type of strong tropical storm, possibly a Category 1 that can come into some part of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, out to the Eastern Pacific we go. We do have Tropical Depression 11E. That's going to be moving south-southwest at 5 knots, kind of drifting. Steering currents here are not as strong as they were a week ago. And then we have nothing, disturbance here in yellow, nothing's developing there. In the Central Pacific toward Hawaii, We have nothing out there but clear skies, blue skies, no hurricanes or tropical storms or tropical entities affecting the Big Island or any of the islands, Hawaii or Kauai or anything like that. So you're very okay out there for anybody planning on going out there later on. So as far as the National Weather Service has in the lower 48, once again, we do have that red flag warnings in the high plains, Jamestown, Pierre, Nebraska, the Quad Cities, Iowa, southern lower Minnesota from Albert Lea, Minnesota back west there, and then out toward Wyoming, much of Cheyenne, I-25 corridor, I-80 corridor, in Wyoming, and also upstate Utah coming out of Salt Lake City, Ogden, Provo, Utah, red flag for dry air. Now we do have a heat advisory continuing in California. So if you're on the coast there, PCH from Malibu down up through Santa Barbara, Lompoc up to Malibu, Santa Monica down through San Diego, and the mountains in between Temecula, Escondido down to the Mexican border. Heat advisories, heat warnings, it's just going. Most of these averages, even LA, 10 to 15 degrees above average in the valleys there as we continue to see the heat continue to burn these areas along with Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, the game, Yuma, all these areas, and Lake Havasu City, the game. All these areas are well above average for this time in October. We do also have some high wind warnings in the Bitterroot chains in the high Rockies in Montana, Big Sky Country, and some of the Indian reservations there. High wind warnings there across the plains there. We also have a freeze warning. This is interesting in North Dakota. First freeze warning almost of the year here. So be very careful if you're growing anything. Bring your plants inside. Bring your pets inside in North Dakota there, western North Dakota, for that freeze warning that's continuing to impact that area. Notice that the rivers are also elevated here. The Santee River, South Carolina, some rivers in Georgia here, the PD River, the river coming down here through here, Okefenokee Swamp River here on the Florida-Georgia line, west of 75 in Valdosta, Georgia, and then the river here, St. Johns River, a little bit here in Deltona on I-4 here. They're still elevated. These rivers are on the East Coast. We've been getting a lot of rain in the next 2 days. Supposed to clear out during the weekend. Tomorrow is going to be next Thursday, Friday, so start to clear out. So let's give us a little break here and let these river floodplains drain, especially in the mountains there. Our thoughts and prayers are still with western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, and also upstate South Carolina and Virginia, who all experience minor to moderate, major flood in those towns like Chimney Rock, and those towns up there in the mountains. So this has been the Weather Guru update for October 2nd. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel for tropical and lower 48 weather as it becomes available. Thank you for your support. I'll see you in the next episode.